Hello everyone, this is Muted Nuts, and today we'll be continuing our beginner-friendly Road to SCP video series. Today we'll be looking at another hack-the-box machine, that is SwagShop. SwagShop is based on Linux and the difficulty is easy, so let's just get started. So first thing what I always do is I run an AutoRecon scan, and AutoRecon, this is an enumeration tool and it's available on GitHub. So this tool basically does like few Nmap scans at first on the target machine, and based on those scan results, it's gonna do additional scans over there. So it's gonna help you out with enumeration, and 95% of the time you get the result, but sometimes you have to manually enumerate things. So the thing is like not always rely on some scanner or something and try to manually do things. So I use AutoRecon for all the boxes, and then later on I try to manually enumerate things. So I'll be using AutoRecon over here. I'll be running this AutoRecon scan as sudo. So because I want to run the scan as root, so I'll be mentioning sudo over here since I'm running the system as Kali, and I'll be giving Python 3 over here because I want to run this file as Python 3, and then I'll be giving the target IP address that is 10.10.10.140 in the case of SwagShop. I'll be giving the output directory wherever you want to save the file as, so probably I just want to save it over here. So I did already run this scan, and let's just look at the scan results because it takes quite some time to actually complete the entire scan. So let's just look at the scan results. So we see over here, first thing obviously I go and look at the full TCP Nmap scan. So let's just look at that, and we see that we have two ports open over here, that is okay, port 22 that is running SSH, and port 80 that is running HTTP. Okay, so that's it. That only two ports are running, and the version over here is this. I think it's an updated version. I don't think there are any exploits over there where you get remote code execution or something. You guys can go and check it out though, but I don't think there are any for this particular version over here. Okay, so we have these two ports running 22 and 80. So obviously I have port 22. We do not have much option over here because we need username enumeration or try to brute force it, right? But we have port 80 over here, which is HTTP. So let's just try and look at that first. So once we load this page, we come across some web application which says Magento, and it looks like a shopping application over here. You have multiple things like account, my account, orders, and everything, right? You have this my account thing over here. Let's just click on that. It says that if you're already registered, try to log in or something like that, or try to create an account. You can try to do that, but I don't think I was very successful with that. So let's just leave this for now. And what we'll do is we'll try to run a GoBuster scans to check out multiple different directories over here. Okay, so another thing is like this particular version is like from 2014, I guess, Magento demo store or something like that. So what we'll do is we'll just try and run a GoBuster scan. If you guys don't know what GoBuster is, so it's an enumeration like directory fuzzing tool. So first we'll need a word list, right? So let's just look at that. Locate common txt. So we all like Kali 2020, I guess it's already comes pre-installed with all this word list. So you can just take that word list over here. The one which I use first is always the common txt. It consists around like 4,000 words, and based on those results and output from that, if I don't get anything, obviously I run the small txt and the medium txt then. So let's just look at the common txt file. We'll cat it to check the contents of it. It says like there are multiple directory names over here. There are around 4,000 plus. So in short, what it's gonna do is, if you don't know how GoBuster works, it's gonna check like, hey, does this www exist? So GoBuster will ask the server. Server will be like, no, it does not exist. So then GoBuster will ask, does this particular directory exist? So server will be like, hey, you know what, this does exist. Then it will be like, GoBuster will be like, hey, does this particular directory exist? Server will be like, no, it does not. Sorry, it does exist, but you do not have permissions to it. So based on the response, it gets from the target machine, like the target server. It's going to give you the output. GoBuster is going to do that. So this 4,000 words are going to run across over here, like www123 and so on, that way. So this is how it's going to happen. And obviously, if you give extensions, so how is it going to work if we give like multiple extensions, right? So let's just quickly write the GoBuster command first. So we'll run GoBuster over here. We have, I think, if GoBuster is not available on Kali, you can get it from GitHub as well. There's an installation process. You can just try and do that. Uh, GoBuster directory, give the use switch over here. You can use the derp as well, but derp takes really long time because I think it's single threaded. So there's derp buster as well, which is like a GUI, but I prefer command lines. I use GoBuster. So we have this over here. We'll be using the U switch to give the target IP address, that is 10.10.10.140. Obviously, we'll give HTTP as well, and I missed a forward slash over here. So that's it. Okay, two forward slashes. We'll be giving the directory mode over here because we want to scan directories, and we'll be giving word list because we have to enter the word list, right? The common TXT. We have to give that over here so that it will scan and check. Then we'll be giving extensions. So this is where it's very important to give extensions because we can give like PHP. And since we already saw that the web page was running PHP, right? If you guys see, if you just click account, it says index PHP over here. Okay, so probably the web page is running like it's being executed as PHP. So we'll be giving PHP over here. We'll be giving like few Linux files or something like sh, pal, py, obviously py and all is present Windows as well, but something which looks more familiar with Linux, so html and probably cgi, txt. So we can add these extensions over here. So in short, what it's going to do is, since if it comes across some particular Zencart or something directory, right? Let's just consider that. So it'll be like Zencart will come over here. Since we gave the extensions, right? First it will check for Zencart itself. It will ask us, oh, hey, does this file or directory exist? So we'll be like, no. Then probably it will check for like PHP, hey, does this file exist? So I'll be like, yes, it does exist. Then it'll be like, does this particular file exist? So and so on. So it will check for all other extensions over here. So this multiplied by 4,000, so that means it will probably be like 4,000 into 7. So that many times it will check for directories over there. So I know most of you guys may already know it, but yeah, just letting you all know since it's a beginner friendly video. Okay, so then we'll be giving the O switch, that is output, and we'll be mentioning anything like go burst, scan, AT, extensions. You can mention anything probably. So let's just start that, and it takes quite some time to get done. So I did already execute the scan before. And another thing is, since we are running now over here, it shows like 10 threads, right? So we can increase the amount of threads so that it can run faster. So probably we can add T40 and we'll press enter. So obviously we'll have 40 threads running at the same time. So that means it's like 4 times faster than this. So you can, use more threads over there. So that's one thing. Okay, so let's just look at the scan results first. So if you look at the scan results, I think AutoRecon did execute the scan by itself, and we found some interesting, like few interesting things over here. And if we see, we obviously there are multiple directories and files. I don't want to go across each and everything, but first when I do the box, obviously I check for each and everything from start, right? So I check for one, two, three, four, and I go on so and so. Okay, so let's just look at this app directory. So we come across this directory listing. Like directory listing is, enabled over here, so we can easily see what all files are present. Obviously, again over here, I'll be first time whenever I do the box, I try to manually enumerate things and see over here. And if you see, these directories are like 2014, right? So that does not mean you have to not check those, but this is like more recent one. So probably let's just go and check that, and we come across another directory over here that says config local XML. So let's just look at these. So if we look at the local XML, so in config we do not have anything much, but probably like Magento over here, and probably we can have some username or something like that, right? So whenever I see something which is unique, which looks like a username, I try to add it in the cherry tree over here. But if we look over here, we have like something mentioning as key. Okay, so it says script key, but I don't know what does this key belong to. Like if you probably try to decrypt it or something. But if we see, we have a username and password over here. So let's just copy that for now on a cherry tree, and we can have username as well as password. So we have the username and password over here, and we have some DB name Slack shop as well. And yeah, that's it. And we have a admin username as well over here. So probably you can add it as potential usernames. So this is a good practice which I always do whenever I'm doing the box first. So I try to add like potential usernames, potential passwords, and if I try to scan any files, okay, like if I'm trying to check out the scan result files, I'll try to copy paste it into the cherry tree and check like later on, especially during Linum scans or any particular enumeration scan. Okay, so we have admin user over here as well. So we'll look into it. Obviously, we'll take this thing first and we'll try to SSH since we had SSH connection, right? So let's try and do that. But if you see, I don't think it's gonna work. So let's just do that for root and probably just copy this password over here. Copy it and paste the password and it will deny. Okay, so obviously we'll just remove root over here. We'll just add admin and try the same thing, but I don't think that's gonna work either. Okay, so that password I don't think it's very useful over here. So what we can do is we had a login page right earlier. We'll just try to use that and see if we get something. But over here as well, I tried. Obviously, if you just enter admin and enter the password, or if you enter root, it's gonna be like please enter an email address. You require that ad.com something like that. So I entered like test.com localhost, but I was not successful. You guys can go and try it out, but I was not successful over here. So obviously, like there are multiple other directories and files as well, which you can go. But what we'll do for now is, obviously, when I do the box first, I go across all these things. So, but for now, let's just go and look at Searchploit. So we'll just look at Searchploit and Magento because the web application name is Magento. So it is obviously it can be a, like custom made web application or some web application which is already being made and it's being sold, something like that, or it's an open source web application. So let's just look into it. We have this Magento application over here and we have multiple vulnerabilities for it. So we do not know the version number as of now because web application or anything, any application or service which is running, it's very important to know the version number because if version 1.1 has a vulnerability and you are running version 1.2, despite even if you run that 1.1, the exploit or something, it's not going to work because probably it was fixed in 1.2 version, right? So that's why it's very important. But obviously, developers are smart as well, so they try to avoid that so that people cannot see it. Okay, so we do not have anything over here. It says cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting probably can avoid that. And we have another thing which says arbitrary file write or something. So this particular exploit, I did try to check out, multiple things over here, but I could not find a proper POC. I found a POC, but I could not find that proper code which you have to pass or something like that. So I was not very successful at it. If any of you guys have already done this particular way, so you can let me know as well. So let's just leave that aside for now. And we have these two particular exploit, right? So we have one over here which says authenticated remote code execution. So whenever it means authenticated, obviously most of you may know, authenticated means you need access to this particular web application. Probably over here, right? You need access to this particular web application. And another thing is that we have e-commerce over here. So I think local file disclosure. So we check for this as well, but I think if we just look at this, search exploit X to just view it. And if we see over here, there are found, okay, there are some bugs or something which were found earlier in 2012, I guess. And the version which we saw over here, if we look at this, vendor contact 2012, and the version which we saw obviously over here was 2014. So probably you can just skip it, or if there's no last option, probably you can try to check out the vulnerabilities present over and try to use it over there. But that would be the last resort, right? Because it does not look very likable. So we have this another thing over here, Magento e-commerce remote code execution. So let's just look into it. I know it says XML over here. Let's just look. We can just probably look or try to mirror it. So I'll be using the M switch and I'll be giving this particular, exploit name. Before that, I'll just cd exploit. So what I did was I just want to go to that cd directory in the exploit folder, sorry, in this workplace folder over here, and then I want to try to mirror it. Yeah, so what it will do is it will come over here and it will do that. So obviously we moved like we went to this exploit folder, then I just used the other command, just terminated that and use this so that it gets saved in this particular exploit directory only. Okay, so what just to organize things, it's much better because sometimes you try to end up like using multiple exploits. You try to download some files from the target machine, it gets very confusing. Then what came from where? Like, is it your own POC? Not own, but if is it a POC exploit or is it like server target machines document or some file? Okay, so we have exploit over here. We sorry. you just look at that exploit first. So I don't usually prefer on opening it on the command line because it gets a little confusing. So I just open it over here in mousepad, and so we have this particular exploit. It says if you look closely, it's like an SQL injection over here. Okay, so there's like database table names and all. You don't need to know much over here because obviously the code exploit code is already written. So it looks like it's gonna create. If you look over here, it says if everything is okay. So this are okay. So it's gonna print out worked, and it's gonna print out please check this admin with creds for me. Okay, and it says like over here else did not work. Another thing what I want to mention y'all is when I was enumerating things over here, right, I got index php. Okay, so obviously this index php is the first path over here, the first child directory. Okay, it comes over here, right, index php. This is the go buster scan which we did run. Then when I was manually enumerating things, I came across something interesting which says like index php, and after that there's like a directory customer account login and so on. And if we go to orders, we have another directory which says sales. So obviously what I did was, instead of trying to check out more things, first thing what I did is I tried to use GoBuster. But now when I use GoBuster, I did index over here, index PHP, and then I use this. So this is how I did run another scan. Okay, and so let's look at that particular scan result. So if we look at that scan, I think, yeah, this is the one. So if you look over here, we have this admin, page over here, API, catalog, checkout, multiple pages. So let's just look at this admin page for now. And we come across some admin panel over here, right? Okay, Magento admin panel. So obviously we can try to get the default username password, and I don't think it works. So like probably like admin or something like it says invalid password. You can check out for this Magento web application default credentials, but that does not work either. Default Magento credentials. So it says like admin and 123 123. So this is what it is. So let's just try that, but I don't think that's gonna work. But just to show you all, 123 123, try to log in, does not work either. So obviously there is some, the box, maybe they might have not left the default credentials over here, so they obviously might have changed it. So this particular exploit, if we look into it, this is gonna actually in that admin page, right? So it's gonna check out for this admin, this particular page over here. It's gonna do some SQL injection, and it's gonna probably create a user. So this is what it looks like. And over here also it mentions, right, create check this with creds form. So in short, this is like just a print command. Okay, so whatever you type over here will be displayed over in the command line when you run the script. So this is not important. What's important is this thing over here, format username. You have to change this particular thing. Okay, before that we have to change multiple things over here, because if in mousepad you get this particular thing like, hey, this is a comment. Okay, since this is like this light blue color over here, so this is comment section over here, and this, it thinks that this is a code because the formatting is not proper over here. Okay, so probably just remove this for now, we do not require this. And if you look over here as well, the version date is like to 2015, right? And this particular web application we saw over there earlier was 2014. So let's just remove this thing for now, because if we'll run it now, it's not going to work. Okay, so let's just remove this, and later on below also there are a few things like exploit ends over here. Let's just remove this entire thing. Okay, okay, that's it. So because that was not a code, that was not Python code over there, so we'll remove that. Now we have to change multiple things over here. It does not mean like whenever you get a script, try to just copy paste and run it. You have to obviously read it, see what it does, try to modify things which it actually requires, and then try to use it. So this is what we are going to do. So obviously you do not have to change anything in the payload over here as such, because we are creating a username, so let that be as it is. We have the target machine over here, target IP address, right? So let's just save this as, probably we'll just save it as something else. uh, Create user. Let's just save it as create user, and we have this particular page over here. Okay, so we'll just copy this index php for now, the entire thing. Why index PHP as well? Because obviously this site might have understood, but I think they have added that index PHP. So in short, I'll just show you all. If we add, okay, remove HTTP. Okay, so if we just look little into the code, it says like target, and if it ends with, then you remove this particular one. So even if we add this particular thing over here, it's going to remove this thing over here. So in short, let's just not add it. It does not matter if you add it as well, but it says that target URL is this thing. So once it will come over here, this is the target variable, right? And this is the target variable over here. So it's gonna copy this thing and it's gonna bring it over here, okay? And plus this particular admin part. So we just want to leave that aside. Why I just showed you all this, because we have index PHP, right, over here, and after that we have admin. So hence we require to add index PHP as well. If we do not enter this, we'll come over here, something like that, and then we'll come as admin. So I don't think there's a directory which is admin over here. So it will give you an error. So please make sure to try to look at the minute things over here. It helps. It's nothing very like rocket science. Like obviously simple to understand. So we have this thing. Let's just add index PHP for now. Index PHP. Okay, we have added that. We mute, the username. We don't want to save it as forme, so let's just change it probably to your username. So I'll just mention muted nuts, and password I'll just mention as kindly subscribe. Okay, so this is the username and password over here. And if you, this is just a print statement, you do not have to change this thing. Does not matter because the functionality is over here. So probably just change it for now, just to make it look good. So then in the end, if we get some output, then probably it will be like, oh yeah, this actually is the credential. Kindly subscribe. Okay. So we have this thing over here. Let's try to run it and see if it works. I don't think we need to change anything else. But yeah, let's just try to run it now. So let's just remove this, clear the screen, press Ctrl L and LSLA. We have this create user py over here. So let's just give execute permission. So probably we'll just enter chmod 7. Okay, so since we already have read write at the first, so 7. And the second one is write itself, third one is write itself. So we just leave it as it is. So write. So 4 is for write, sorry, 2 is for, yeah, 4 is for write, 2 is for sorry, 4 is for read, my bad. 4 is for read, 2 is for write, and 1 is for execute. Okay, so this is what we give, and we enter create user.py over here. And now if we check the permissions, we have execute permission for the first user, that is Kali, and this is our group and others like over here. So let's just leave it as it is and try to execute it with Python over here and create user py. Okay, and it says like it worked, and check this particular URL with creds, muted and nuts, kindly subscribe. So obviously we already are over here. Let's just reload this page. Let's just see. We have this, obviously it says invalid username password because we do not enter anything. So let's just enter muted and nuts and enter kindly sub. Okay, I think I mistyped it. Kindly subscribe, and let's press enter, and take some time to log in. So probably it looks like, okay, so it looks like obviously the credentials work. So this particular exploit worked over here, right? So this is what it is, create user. So let's just close it for now, since we come across this Magento Live Europe 2019. We have something, we have a version number over here. So that is 1.9.0. So let's just go Magento version. So we can just have this saved over here, 1.9.0.0. Okay, so we have this exploit over here. Now if we look at that search exploit result, right, which we saw earlier, so let's just do search exploit Magento. So we had this another exploit over here which was authenticated remote code execution, right? So we'll look into this, but we'll look into this later, because now we can get, the access, we can gain access to the system, not the privilege escalation, but access to the system in two ways over here. So we can do it in another way. So I just want to show you all that. Obviously, you can go and enumerate things. And when the box was first released, I guess, so there were multiple things over here as well, but few of the things have been disabled now. But we can sorry, we can obviously exploit this in some another way. So let's just look into that first. So we'll just Google over here for Magento, and we'll be giving the version number 1.1.9 itself. If we give, for some reason, if we give 1.9.0.0, I know it's very unlikely because obviously you're going to enter the entire version number, right? So that exploit or that POC probably does not show up over here in Google search results. So let's just look into it. 1.9. So probably this is one more thing which I'll probably try. Just add the parent number over here 1.9 or probably 1 or something and see if we get some exploit. So if we enter this over here 1.9 and we just enter exploit. So over here as well, we do not find anything in the first page. I know it's very unlikely that the actual intended method would not be in the first page of Google itself. But if we look over here, in this particular page, we come across some attack, and obviously the first part, starting part, you can go and read through it, but I've already gone through it and exploited it. So let's just come to this exploitation part over here. Okay, not over here, let's just scroll down. So this says, like, you have to brute force in order to get the password, so they create a Python script for that and so on. So now it comes over here which says like this frog hopper attack. Okay, so it says like unpatched versions of something, and if you look on top, I think it's for version 1.9. If you see over here, Magento 1.9.3.2. So that's the reason why when we search .0.0, it does not work. So let's just look into this first. So obviously we have this particular Magento application over here. So we come to this frog attack, and at first, okay, let's just leave it as it is. I don't want to accept that cookies thing. So we have this attacker uses functionality to upload a file to a system. There are various functions to prevent any type, does validate action only to certain types of file. Okay, okay. So if we go through this entire thing over here, it basically speaks about something like the category section, the media catalog category section. So let's just look into it. Obviously, you have to go through and read through it first. It's not that you just see it and try to execute it. Obviously, it may be confusing at first, but if you come over here, if you look at the catalog, right, you found a catalog. If you try to enumerate things over here, it says like manage products. Okay, I think it is managed categories. Yeah, catalog and categories. Why? Because it's mentioned over here, media, catalog, and category. So let's just come over here, and it says like new category over here. So we see something like an image, right? Image upload. So probably we can add some reverse shell or something like that over here, right? So obviously, first thing what we'll do is we'll just get that PHP reverse shell, because if you are trying to add something as an image over here, obviously, first thing you can just add a normal image that totally works fine. But even if we add a PHP web shell, so let's just look into it. Mm, okay, I'll just get that reverse shell from my system. You can check it out from Pentest Monkey, I guess. Pentest Monkey PHP reverse shell. Y'all can get it from GitHub as well, but I already have it on my system, I guess. So let's just use that reverse.php. Okay, probably just get it from you. Okay, bit confused, so let's just copy this to exploit directory. So this is the same reverse PHP file, I guess. Yeah, this is the one which I'm looking for. Let's just remove this, or we can just leave it as it is, not necessary. Remove it and just remove this particular thing over here, because that page I actually edited for another box. So just ignore that. If you have that reverse pen test monkey, so this is what the file would look like. So we'll just have that, and yeah, we obviously have to change the IP address and port number over here. So let's just change that real quick, and this is my attack machine's IP address. That is your attack machine's whichever IP address you have in your Hack the Box VPN. That's the one, and we press 4444, and we can add add some commands over here and bin sh. So we can probably add bash as well, but it's safe with sh at first. Then you can probably add bash if you know that bash is actually present or something. So let's just leave it as it is. Okay, we have this PHP shell over here which says reverse. So probably just leave it as reverse itself. Try to upload it, but for now, what we'll do is we'll just take this PHP and we'll rename it as PNG over here, because over here it says in the exploit we need to have any. You can have a web shell. This particular exploit speaks about a web shell, but we do not require a web shell because it actually worked in this reverse shell itself. So PHP, I know we are using PHP, but that will not make it a web shell because web shell is something different, and the browser itself will get a shell, right? Like a terminal kind of thing. But we probably need remote command execution, and we need a shell, sorry, which will come to our attack machine, so we can use it from the terminal itself, because there you have more functionality and everything. So in short, we have to add something which with a PHP extension or something, okay, into this particular managed category. So let's just add over here. We go to exploit, we have this reverse PHP, but obviously you know the code is malicious. We have this malicious code behind it. We name it as reverse is active, probably just mention yes, I guess. We have thumbnail image as well, and we'll just save it. We do not have to enter anything because not required, so we'll probably not waste time. We'll save category, and it says category has been saved. So this image has been saved over here. Let's just look into, you can probably open it or copy link image location, link location, yeah. So probably just try to, so this is where it is saved, right? That is what it, obviously it says that it contains errors, because this is actually trying to render it as an image file, this particular entire part if I put. So that's not the way you will get a reverse shell, because even if you start on Catalyst on 444, it's not going to work. So obviously the path is correct, right? Media category, sorry, catalog category, which is mentioned in this particular POC over here. Okay, if you check it out, I think over here, yeah. So it's mentioned over here. So that's correct. So what we'll do is next step what we need to do is we need to go over here into system configuration developer, and we have to allow symlinks. So let's just try that. System configuration, and go to developer. So okay, then advanced, there's developer. So click on that, and then later on obviously we have to check something like template settings and allow symlinks. So that's what we have to do. It says no over here, and it says warning, enable this feature not recommended on production because it represents a risk. But yes, obviously we have to try to exploit it, so we'll just put it yes over here. We save the config. It says configuration has been saved, so that means that part is done. So what we need to do is now we need to go proceed. We need to go to new letter template section, new, not new, but newsletter, yeah, templates. And we come over here, and it, like, you have to create a new template. So probably just add new template over here, and probably just mention it as reverse template. You can mention any name over here, not necessary, but since it's mentioning, it's mandatory, right, the star asterisk. So that's why you have to add something. So reverse subject, just as it is, and probably template content. So if we look over here, it says like we can add the sign up letter or something. And this some code is mentioned over here. I'm not very well aware what this is, but it looks like we have to change this particular thing to this particular code over here. So let's just get this out. Okay, and try to open this thing. I like working it this way because it's easier, because the thing is this is an image over here. It's not a text. It's an image over here. So I could not copy paste it. So what I did was I just removed this entire thing, and obviously I had to manually do this thing, like probably add the command. So probably hope I don't have any errors over here. So block type and core template. Okay, there's an equal to. Okay, and this is like just path traversal. Okay, so we have like one, so obviously I'll just copy it. I'll just count 1 2 3 4 5 6. We probably require 6 of these. Let's just copy it, paste 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, then we have to probably add media catalog category, and the location where your probably reverse shell is present, right? So I think we just closed it, so we require that. And saved it over here. Okay, so it was media catalog, and then it was category and reverse PHP, because that was a file name which we had saved, right? Reverse PHP PNG, and we'll just close this by this inverted comma, single inverted comma. We'll close the brackets as well. That's it, and we have to probably save it, I guess. So if we look into this over here, so it does not mention anything, but obviously next part is like save it, and we have this particular thing over here. But in order to run it, if this symlink, it says like if this particular that symlink option was not enabled, we would not be able to run it. But since we have this, we can probably just try and preview template option. So probably we have to just click on this first. Before that, we'll just start up Netcat listener, that is NC NVLP 444. Netcat, if you guys don't know, it's like a connection. So you can have a connection from the attack machine to the target machine. So we'll be using Netcat, that is NC. It's pre-installed in Kali. We'll be using NVLP over here, N for numeric IP addresses only, V for more verbals, and L for listening. Since we are listening over here, because once we activate something over here, right, the payload will get a connection to our attack machine. So we are listening on port 4444. That's why the P switch over here. So we hit enter, and later on, let's just try and do the preview template. For some reason it takes some time to load, and if you look over here, we obviously have a shell, and we are in the system as www data. It's mentioned over here as well. So if we go to our home directory, we have a user named Harris, and let's just check over here. We have a user txt flag, and we can very well read it as well, because we belong to this third category over here. Like, I just assume it over here, right? Because this is one, this is two, and this is the third category, others. So this is my way of interpreting it. So this is belongs to Harris, this belongs to Harris again. This is the group, by the way, not the user, and this is where we belong. So luckily we have read access. You can go and cat user txt, but I would not do that, so you can get the flag. Okay, so this is how the box is done in the first way. So let's just close it for now, exit. Okay, obviously we can go for privilege escalation, but privilege escalation, let's just look into it later. First we'll just okay, it says something terminated. So let's just close this for now. Let's maximize it, and let's look at the other exploit which we discussed earlier, right? Searchploit Searchploit Magento, and we have this another exploit over here which says authenticated remote code execution. So let's just take that over here, Python script, searchploit m switch for mirror into the current working directory. So it'll get copy pasted. Sorry, and I think this is the one. Yeah. No, not this one, the previous one. So that's why I try to rename the exploit. I don't leave it as this number, because I don't understand what it does then. Because you have multiple exploit, you don't know what it does. So that's why I try to rename it. So let's just try to rename this as well, and paste it, and a copy, probably exploit 2, rename. And if we look into it, it says obviously the usage first, where what you have to add and things, and some command. Let's just look into it. We see if you want to add anything additional. Obviously, during authenticated exploits, it will ask you for a username password, right? Because that Python script itself would not know. And one more thing is, even in the browser, if you're authenticated, right? You're authenticated over here. You can go to this promotion page, manage customers and everything. But when you try to run the Python script, it's not gonna use this authentication, because here the cookie is probably generated in the browser. If you're using Python script, it's as good as some other user trying to access from some other computer. Okay, so please don't try to get confused with that. So we have this particular thing where it says config. Obviously, you have to enter the username and password which we had created, right? So we can enter muted and nuts, and we can enter the password as well. Kindly subscribe. We enter that PHP function system. It says we can only pass one argument to the function, so we leave it as it is, nothing. It says install date over here. It says this needs to be exact date from this particular. I think we came across this file, right? If we saw, let's just close this for now. I don't think we require it. So let's just go to 10.10.140 and app. We go to etc. We have this local XML, right? So I think this is a very important step over here because later on it tries to create a hash of it and use it as a key or something. So in short, we have this install date, right? So it says at November, something like that, 2014. So we need to change this for now. And why we select this exploit as well, because obviously we saw that 1.9.0.0 can be exploited. It says less than this version. So let's just look into it. It says 2014 install date. It's present over here itself. Install date. Okay. So the exploit itself mentions the path location. So we'll just copy paste this, copy it, and we'll just paste it over here as it is. We did not change any format, just paste it and save it, Control S. It says payload over here. I don't think this is like a data serialization thing. I don't want to touch any of this. Probably I like you cannot understand anything what it does over here, but it looks like in this particular thing, right? So it looks like over here it's calling some PHP function, length of PHP function over here. So this is what it is calling system. So this is what is coming over here in short, and the two arguments. So I think the top arguments over here, I guess. Okay, so we have this mechanized browser. Okay, and in short, this mechanized is a, if you look at mechanized, so it's basically like Python is trying to create a dummy or virtual web browser like Firefox, like something like Pi browser. Okay, just consider that way, or mechanized browser. So that's what it means. So it's going to create a browser first. It's going to request something. Since see in the browser when we request something, right? Obviously we are going to request something and the response would come different, so we need to check the response, and based on the response it will be like, hey, I found this password. Okay, now I'll use this and do my second request, something like that. So let's just look into that later in some time. And we have something like br form select something. I don't think we have to enter any data over here, additional data we have entered. You obviously have to run the script over here, so we'll just do that. We enter the username, you enter the password, you enter the install date. I think we are good to go. So let's just try and run the exploit. So probably first you have to give permissions, and already asked permission for some reason. Execute permissions over here as well. So we can probably try to remove that. And 7 uh, can make sense. 4 exploit 2 py. Okay, so let's try to run that file. Python exploit do py. You can just try to hit it up, and first it will come with this error. Obviously I know you have to give the you know sorry, this particular path over here, but let's just do that first. Or probably since mechanize is coming over here itself, it did not even reach this particular thing. So we have to fix this first error over here. It says import mechanize. So the thing is, I have mechanize installed, but it is in Python 3. So this is the issue with Kali 2020, right? So what I did was I didn't want to try to do something with the modules and binaries. So what I did was, it in shorts requires this mechanized module, right? So what I did was I just tried to, it's not present in Python 2, it's present in Python 3. So I just did locate mechanize. Okay, I spelled it wrong, my bad. So we get this multiple binaries over here. So if we go on top, we leave this, just ignore this user share doc, okay? So let's just go to this dist packages over here. So we need this particular directory. Let's just take this. What I'm trying to do is, obviously there's a root directory, user, there's lib, Python 3, dist packages, mechanize. So I'll just try and copy this entire mechanized folder so that all the files present inside mechanized folder will be copy pasted into this same directory. So this is what I do, like usually because of Python 2, because I don't want to mess things up, because if I try to install it in Python 2 or something, I know in 2020.3 it has been fixed, but I'm not well sure like how do I do it, but this was a quick way to do it, right? So let's just try to do that. So cpr, and so this is what I did as first because it was very quick. So I'll just give the R switch because I want all the files and subdirectories inside mechanize also to be copy pasted. So let's just do dot cp for copy, R for recurse. That means all the directories or subfolders or files inside will be copied as well. And dot means in this current working directory you save it instead of entering the whole path over here, right? So let's just hit enter. It's already copied. We have mechanized over here. Let's try to run the exploit again. exploit.2. So now we do not get that mechanized error, right? So I think we are good to go. So we have Python over here. We have obviously have to give the HTTPS. So we'll give Python 2. This is obviously S stands for the file name. So we can ignore that since we are already mentioning it. So PyHTTP 10.10.140, and obviously we have to give index.php as well, because again if you look at the code, it will probably try to add that admin panel over here. I think we have to add admin as well, probably. Let's just look into it. Probably we have to add admin as well, because since it will create this particular this login page, right? It requires this context over here. Let's just see what happens if you just press index php. Okay, I'll just show you all, and then that's how we'll come to know what to do. And it says in quotes you enter the command which you want. So we'll enter a simple command which will say who am I. And for now, just ignore the first part, right? Like the first exploit path which we took, just ignore that and what all information we got from it. So let's just hit enter. It says over here, control not found, no control matching name, login, password. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just try and fix errors in Burp Suite for now. So let's just look at Burp Suite. I'll just show you all how we'll fix error, because there's an option over here which says you can set up proxy, which is actually commented out. So let's just remove this. We have HTTP, we have localhost, leave it as it is. 8080, leave it as it is. You can probably enter the IP address over here, but it's just going to go to 127 because it's there in the host file, I guess. So let's not worry about that. And where did this Burp Suite keeps asking me to update or version? Okay, close. Start Burp. So we'll put interceptor off, or we can keep it on as well. We do not require, I don't think we need it to be on. I just leave it off. This is what I normally prefer. We'll go to options. We have this on the same port, right? Localhost 127.0.0.1. That is the localhost IP address, and 8080, same thing which is present over here. So it's on, it's intercepting, not intercepting, but in short sniffing. So let's just try and run this exploit again and see what happens. Says no control matching name, login, password. Okay, so let's just go back to Burp Suite. We come over here. Once we send the request, right, get index php, probably in response it is not finding that login page, right? It is not finding this my bad, login password. So let's just try to copy selection and just try to paste it over here. I don't think we find it over here, right? So let's just remove this for now. I'll just show you all how it will. So obviously it requires a login page over here, and that index PHP does not have a login page. Obviously it has, but it's that other login page, but it is not looking for. Over here there's no login page, right? So it's looking over here. So what we need to do is we need to go to this admin page over here. Obviously now we are logged in already, so that's why this thing is coming. But we had that page, right, where we entered the username and password manually and got here. So we need to redirect it to that page. So obviously we just enter index php and admin over here and just hit enter. Now we get another error which says, if you look closely, it's not the same error. It says no control matching name, and over here it says more than one control matching name. Okay, so let's just try to look at that as well. Let's look at the response. Let's paste that over here. We have one over here, right? And try to, okay. So we have one over here, but what it's saying is, okay, in this particular exploit, if you look at line 55, let's just go to line 55, right? This was line 56. So if you go to line 55, I think it says like, hey, already you have created this one control over here which says this login username. Why are you creating one more over here? Okay, but over here, in the comments it was mentioned that had to manually add username control. So I think when this box was released, this thing was working, but I think now it does not work. So for some reason, you have to disable either of this thing. And obviously, I know the comment over here especially is mentioned that you have to manually add it. So that, so that means that this thing has to be there, right? For sure. So probably even I was stuck up for that. So probably I just removed this first time and I tried to do that. So I'll just save this. I commented out the second username because it says that there are more than one control matching this thing. So let's just run it now and see what we get. We do not get that particular old error, right? It says none type object has no group something. So I got this error. So what I had to do was remove this comment out and comment this thing out, which is the actual one. It mentions over here that they had to actually add it to in order the script to work, but I had to actually comment this thing out. So once I do that, and then I try to run this, and we come across another error. So this particular script had multiple errors, and it was obviously at first you have to try each and everything for the script to work, right? It's very this, so it's little tricky over here because let's just close these things. Now it says like none time object has no attribute group, tunnel group, something like that, tunnel error on line 69. So if you go over here, line 69, it says tunnel group something. I think it's getting an error over here. So obviously we'll just look into it in burp suit. Let's just clear this history first. And we'll just clear the history because so that it looks neat. Like once we run the exploit again, we try to do the whole thing again and it'll probably give us the same error. So let's just look into it. First, obviously it went to this admin page and what the script was doing was it looked for this login password and I think login username as well. It took that, it sent a post data. Okay, it's obviously got some cookies and all as well, I guess. It sent some post data and later on it added multiple things over here. Okay, let's just look into it. Okay, so sorry, my bad. We are looking at the response. My bad. So obviously it sent a post request over here with mutated nuts and kindly subscribe. That is the username login credential, and it was successful. I guess it redirected us to some other page, and obviously it was successful. Then it went to some other page which says key. Went again to some other page over here, and again it went over here something. So it's going across multiple pages to get that particular payload executed correctly. So once it comes over, if we look at the response, it says like we have some, probably like a drop down option which says like option value last 20. How we get this things like last updated 1 year back or 24 hours or like 1 month. So that way probably there's a drop down selected over here. And if we look closely, it says option value 7D selected. Obviously selected is that option and this is the value selected. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to look into the 7D if we can find something over here. And if you look over here, okay, into this request which it sends, it says period 7D is mentioned over here. Okay, and even over here if you see 7D is the one which is mentioned, this particular request BR open. So obviously we'll just try and change it to a different period. Probably we can select 24 hours, 1 month, 1 year or something like that. So let's just select 1 month for now and see if we get something similar. Let's just clear this history because again we want it to be neat so that we can understand. We'll just create one M because it was mentioned the same thing. Don't write one MONT or something or like capital M, just small m. Same thing what was present over there. Sorry, try to hit it again. Okay, we got the error over here. And if we look over here again, it looks like it did not succeed after this. It says 1 month selected, but nothing because it says no data found or something like that. And same thing happened in the 7D. So if we look closely over here, it says after this BR open, right, request. So it's going to do a tunnel and search over here and it's going to read that particular thing. Okay, so whatever I think the website which we get, some entry or something like that, it's going to read this particular thing over here. So that's why I think we probably have to have some data which starts with, because it's searching away. If you leak, I know it's a little confusing and it's a little, it looks a bit tricky, but the thing is, it's going to request, it's going to read this particular web page once it's going to open, and it's going to search over here for this particular string over here. So I cannot find anything which says src probably. That's why it's giving that error that, this tunnel, no object, no group, something like that, right? Because it's coming over here in the end and it does not find this, but no, sorry, not over here, but over here. So that's why it could not find this particular thing. So let's just try to get this src working over here. SRC, and as well as it mentions about GA as well. So let's just come into this later. Let's just look into SRC. Let's just copy this first line itself and let's just paste it over here and see if we have SRC something. It says zero matches. So obviously 7D we checked, 1 month we checked. We'll try to check for 1 year or 2 years. So let's just go for 2 year for now. We can check for 1 year as well. I obviously checked all the years and months which were present over there in that. Let's just check two. Okay, let's just check 1 year for now and let's just run it again. And probably the same error again. Let's just look at the latest post request, which is the same one, 1 year selected. We do SRC, we have zero matches found. So let's just clear history for now and let's use 2 years now because that was the last option, right? 2 years. Look at that, save it, run it again. Take some time to load. We did not get any error as of now. So probably it looks like we are lucky, and obviously we get who am I and we get www data as well over here. So that means we got successful remote command execution after modifying that script multiple times. And this thing with the 7D thing was a bit tricky. And obviously if you try to do it at the first time, it's really very this and you try to find things. So obviously let's just look at the post request now. What I was trying to show you all is SRC is present over here, right? It's basically saying search for SRC and it actually, it could actually find SRC over here, okay? And then it says this particular dot and this asterisk. That means you can enter any value over here. I don't care, but the first thing this thing should be present, SRC, and I think it is present, SRC, okay? I don't think that's okay. The slash is for the next line, I guess. Yeah. So it meant. So in short, it means that SRC should be present, and after that, it is like you need to have this particular thing present over here. That means this bracket obviously is saying that any files can be present over here, and then later on it's saying like you need to have this particular what do you say, GA thing present as well. So you have SRC over here, and then later on you need to have this GA thing as well. So obviously let's just try to look at that. And the same line has this SRC. So in short, it says in between you can have any kind of data over here, right? You can have asterisk, like the asterisk means any kind of data. It's okay because obviously this data will be random. And then it should have GA as well. And probably later on in the code, it asks for this GA payload, GA thing to put over here. So in short, that's how it works. In short, we got our remote command execution. I know this is a little extra over here, like to understand this thing, but yeah. So we have remote command execution. Now how will we execute and achieve, getting our shell over here? So obviously we can do which Python, we can do which NC over here and get the shell. But what I was trying to do all is we can have a one step. Okay, my bad. I think I just, let's just open it over here. Uh, okay, we have this thing. Obviously we'll get www data over here. And let's try to get our reverse shell first. So obviously let's just try to split the terminal NC NVLP on port 4444. What we can do is we have remote command execution. We can obviously check it with ping as well, but we can see we have the command execution because this is not a blind remote command execution. So what we'll do is we'll try to write a Python. Okay, let's just close this for now. We'll create one on the bottom because the command should be seen properly. Okay, so first thing is we'll try to take one reverse shell. Okay, we'll take a Python reverse shell as well. First, we have to obviously check if there is Python available in the system. So probably just enter Python first. Which Python? If you do not get any output, that means Python is not present. So that we do not get any output. That means Python is not present over here. So let's just check for Python 3. take some time, but we do have Python 3 over here. So let's just copy this user bin part, just paste it in our charity for now. Okay, and what we'll do is I have a reverse shell which I generally use. So probably just look at that, locate reverse.py. Yeah, so let's just get this. We'll look into this content in a bit. So we have this reverse py file. It's very simple and it's user bin Python, same thing which we saw over here. So let's just leave that path as it is. We obviously have to change the port number, that is, sorry, IP address and port number 4444. We can leave bash over here probably just to be safe. We can add sh itself, or we can just add bash because, okay, let's just add sh. So this is, I have not created this by myself. Obviously, I just use this pentest monkey one. If you go over here, reverse shell. So this is the one which I actually use, and this is the same copy, exact copy obviously, but I give on top, I give that particular environment, and I remove this Python C because this is used to execute something over here, right? So if you, I just want to show you, you can probably enter this Python command and play with this codes and everything, but I just want to show you how you all can send a file and how you all can execute it in one particular command itself. Because here we have remote command execution, but it's not a shell. We need to upgrade to a proper shell, right? So this is how I did. Obviously, I removed this thing, and then later on, this semicolon is there. I just hit enter, next line. You can probably leave it as it is, but just to look better. So obviously, let's just delete these things over here. Do not require this. Okay, don't require these things. We have 22 for 444. That's it. Good to go. Reverse py. Okay, we just, what we do is, first thing we'll try to obviously set up our Python HTTP server, because we want some file from here to, sorry, from our attack machine to go to our target machine, which is probably we'll get remote commoditization. Obviously, we can just try and check for wget as well to see if wget is present. Sometimes it is not present, so you have to use nc or something like that. So let's just see wget is present or no. Most of the system it's present in Linux boxes. It is present over here, so we can use wget. So what we'll do is we'll just write a command first that, hey, you know what, wget. Before that, we'll just start this Python HTTP server 8000. If you don't enter 8000, I think by default it runs at 8000 only. So another terminal over here to start our netcat listener. Oh, let's just close this, and probably, okay, let's just start out over here, then later on probably we can switch. So vertically nc nvlp numeric verbose listening and port number. So that is this. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to send this Python reverse Python file over here. Okay, so we'll just do that, wget attack machine's IP address, because we need a file from Kali machine, right? We need it from Kali machine, so we need some file. The swag shop will request us, then we'll send the reverse py file, and after that we'll do few more things. So we have ww, I added 14 and 22, and the port number, that is 8000 over here, and we'll be given the file name, that is reverse py, and you have to be in the same directory where you're hosting the Python web page, okay, so in order to have that file. So reverse py. So first we are getting this reverse py. Obviously you can do step-by-step procedure and try to get this, but if you want to do it in one go, you can just add this command first, then we'll break the command, bash command. You'll be like, hey, I want to add another bash command. Sorry, not break it. Important thing is save it, because if you try to wget this reverse py file, it will probably save in that www data directory. That means some web application directory it will save it in. So we do not have to do that. Obviously we can try to add some PHP file over there. We can get the reverse shell that way, but let's just try to do it in a different way, like use tmp directory. TMP directory is present in the root directory itself, so that's why I gave this slash over here, since it will come to the root directory and tmp, and we'll probably save this as reverse py. So this is the first command which I gave. Second command is give a space probably and just enter chmod 777. Just enter 777 for now. I know that we can probably just enter 754 or something. Let's just enter 777 in the target box, right? So let's just leave it as it is, 777, and all permissions for anyone. So then we'll give reverse py. That's wrong actually. You cannot do that. So that's why you have to give tmp reverse py, because you're still in this particular www data directory. Okay, so you cannot do that. So just give tmp reverse py, this reverse py. Okay, then probably end that as well. And then later on we have Python 3 over here. We do not have Python, so just make sure you give Python 3, and then later on give the file where it's present. Obviously do not give reverse py again. Mention it. I know these are basic things and most of you guys may already know, but it's a beginner friendly video, that's why I'm just mentioning. Give the path name again, that way. So this is what will happen. First thing, it will use wget. It will execute this command. It will get this reverse file into the target machine, and we'll get a notification over here saying, hey, we got some request. It will go to our attack machine. Okay, let's just look into it over here. Simpler thing. It's request for reverse py. Okay, so first thing, I know it's little messed up, but let's just look over here. Reverse py. Second step, it's gonna actually send reverse py. Then later on it's gonna chmod over here. So it's gonna change permissions, because by default it's gonna have only read write on the first user as well, like the user. So we have to just chmod it, this particular reverse py file. After that it's gonna execute it, so again on this machine itself. So it's gonna execute with like Python 3, because we saw Python 3 is present. Reverse py. Okay, so this is how it's gonna work. Okay, so we have this reverse py, we have everything set. Let's just try to run it. If we come across any error, we can try to fix it if we do not get some shell or something, but probably we should, because we have remote command execution, right? So I'll just try to run it. 444. Let's just recheck the file again. 4422. Okay, that's good. Let's just hit enter. Okay, it will take some time, because obviously first it will go through all that file request, and we see over here we got the HTTP request, right? And also we see we have a shell over here. So if you do who am I, we are over here as www data. Okay, so that's good. And if first thing obviously I check for is uname a. First thing obviously I go and check for the flag, but like user txt. But we see over here we have a Ubuntu version, we have the Linux build, and we have 64-bit OS architecture over here. So another thing is I check sudo l, and we have something over here which says like user www data can execute user bin vi. So vi is the editor, if you guys don't know. So I can use that as root without giving any password, in short. But there's a catch over here. You can just not use vi. You have to use vi like an editor, right? How we use cat over here. Sorry, I'll just do one thing. I'll just close this shell. I know we got a shell after a lot of work, but sorry, I'll just try to close it, because I'll try to open it in another terminal just to get a better clear view, because we need that. So since we already have the file over here there, right? So we already have this thing done, wget. The file is already in tmp folder. That does not mean that after every request it will disappear, but sometimes some boxes have some scheduled job which clear the tmp folder as well, so that time it might work. But let's just remove the chmod as well, because the permission is already set. So let's just say remove everything. We just need to execute this Python 3 reverse. Okay, so let's just start our cat listener. We go back and then the same thing again, but just getting it in the other way over here. Okay, I think we should have gotten a shell already. Okay, so we got a shell, because it takes some time because of this multiple web requests at first. Okay, so we have a shell over here. What I'm trying to tell you all is now we have how we open cat, right? So if we do which cat over here, obviously it will be like user bin cat, and if we do sudo l, I'm just trying to correlate vi and cat over here. Okay, they are not the same, they are different, but somewhat functionality is similar. But obviously cat is like reading, vi is like an editor, like mousepad, how we are editing, right? Like mousepad over here, this thing. So that's how it works. So we have user bin vi, we have user bin cat over here. So in short, we can enter the cat command, okay, as sudo. This is my attack machine, by the way, this down one, and this is the target machine since we achieved remote command execution and we have a shell. So don't get confused. So we have sudo, we have cat over here, and we can probably, it's trying to execute a file in this directory. We have to open some file in this directory, var www html, and the asterisk means you can open any file. So in short, it will be like, just consider this thing, okay? Let's just consider workplace exploit. Workplace exploit. I know this is not the root directory. Don't get confused. The root directory is different over here. It will be probably home for my this root directory, right? Let's just consider this is the root directory. Oh, okay, leave it. Let's just consider var www html itself because it may get confusing otherwise. And then we can execute any file. Just consider this reverse py was present in this directory in my system. So I can try to open it with cat and it will open it. But just in case, for now, for this example, we can just take, okay, I don't want to do sudo, just reverse py. So it will probably cat this particular thing. So same thing this vi is doing, but you need a file which has to be present over here. So what we'll do is we can just go and check lsla. We can check without going to that directory what kind of files are present over here. There are multiple files present, so we can try to use any of these. Don't try to use the command blindly because it will try to open multiple files over here. So what we'll do is we'll just try to create a file first. So we'll use touch for that. If you use touch, you can create a blank file with some name, right? So let's just do that. Touch is a tool, by the way. HTML. We'll just create a file which says like okay, just keep it simple, maybe muted and nuts. Let's just leave it as muted and nuts itself. So now if we check lsla and we go back to www html, we'll have that muted and nuts file present itself, and this is as recent, like I've recently created. Okay, so let's just take sudo l again. You can probably use copy it in the cherry tree itself, but I don't think it's required. Now we have vi over here which says this. So obviously you can check on Google for vi linux privilege escalation. You can do that, sudo privilege escalation. Oh, there is one good web page, okay, so which has, oops, bins, yeah. So which has multiple, applications over like chown, chmod. If you have sudo command execution, you can achieve root in some way. So you can use Control F, vi, or I think they have a search as well. So let's just use that. So we have this thing over here. We'll enter vi. There's RVM, there's Vim over here. That's the difference. So we are looking at vi only. Let's just click that. And it says like shell. It can be used to break out from restricted environments by spawning an interactive system shell. So in short, we can use vi, that is this vi command, and we can use this command over here as well. So let's just copy this for now, and I think we'll have to use this first. So let's just use sudo because we need to run it as root. So we'll use sudo first, then we'll be using user bin vi, and now if we just add this, it's not going to work, by the way, because we need to open some file from this particular directory. So I just want to show that it does not work. So it says like something like no tty present or something like that. So we'll do sudo user bin vi, then var, and www html, and then muted in nuts file which we created, the blank file. I don't want to mess up with this files, but it's okay, you can do that, but you can create something, so why not create it for test purpose, and then later on paste this thing. So we did sudo as per this, we did user bin vi, and we even fulfill this condition over here. Asterisk means you can open any file in this html folder. So I created muted and nuts, I tried to open it, and we got the c command, this thing from here itself, obviously. So let's just try to execute it. Say something like output is not terminal default and sci, and if we do who am I, probably it says root, so that means we have a shell over here. Sorry, my bad. So you can do who am I, id host name ifconfig, and we have all the things. Obviously we are in the system as root, so this is like a shell. Obviously you can upgrade to a shell, you can run the python shell or something like that and get a proper shell. So this is how you do it with vi. I think I can just close it, quit, exit. Okay, so okay, I just want to close this now. Q. So vi, okay. So vi is a little confusing for. Oh, we are back to www data, by the way. So we got our privilege escalation done. Okay, my bad. I actually did privilege escalation, but we did not check the flag. Obviously, you can go and get it, but let's just try that. Let's just try that in the other way, which we do it. So this is the first thing which we do, and vi. I'm not well versed with vi, but that's why I don't know much commands, but I know a few basic. So there's another thing which says like use vi. Open this editor. In short, it's gonna tell you like my bad, sudo l. In short, it's gonna tell you you use vi. That means user bin vi var www html muted nuts file only. Use this file. Use vi. And then after you use vi, you start this set shell is equal to bash and everything. So you have to add this first command, set shell bash, and then you add this, and you'll probably get a shell. So let's just try that for now. Let's just hit enter. It says warning, and it'll overlap something, right? So let's just do that first. Let's set shell. Make sure I don't mess the commands. Set shell is equal to bin sh. Okay. Yes, similar. Let's hit enter. Then later on, I know it's come on top. Don't try to you remove it because it acts funny on the terminal. So that's why I don't like VI as well. I know you can do it with that shell upgrade, but let's just prefer this for now. You can run shell over here and just run shell. So this thing is just overlapping. It's actually a blank line. You're not hitting this command over here. It's just a blank line. So just hit enter shell, and it says shell. We do who am I? We are in the system as root. We do lsla. Obviously we are over there. We'll go to our root directory. We'll do lsla again. We'll go to cd root over here, and we have a root text. Obviously we can read it as well because we are in the system as root. So if you do who am I, sorry, who am I, okay, I think this thing, in short we are over here as root because we saw it over here as well. So this was the box. Privilege escalation was very easy, but I know the initial foothold as in user access into the system was a bit tricky, and modification of code, exploits, running multiple exploits, chaining multiple exploits. I think it is required as well. Use one exploit, then use the other one, then use the other one, something like that. So this was the box. If you guys like the video, give a thumbs up, and if you guys have some queries, y'all can ask in the comments. If you guys have something different to tell me as well, so that y'all can let me know as well. And if you guys did like the video, do subscribe for more upcoming videos as well. So thank you.